The best franchise of all time now has the biggest box office opening of all time. That's right, y'all. We're talking the Fast and Furious here on Screen Junkies News. Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational Dodge Charger. Fate of the Furious opened this weekend to a worldwide box office of $532 million, beating out the previous record holder, Star Wars: The Force Awakens, which had a measly $529 million. How did a film franchise about street races and underbutt beat out the biggest franchise in the galaxy? And where is the Fast franchise going? Besides a quarter mile at a time and being awesome. Here to answer those questions are Dan Murrell, Rob Cornett, Mark Andreyko, and Bonus Jonas on social, Victor Torres. You guys, I mean, it's just a fact that it is the best franchise of all time. We know that these are my feelings, but let's talk about how much money it just made. I mean, 532. This is, of course, still an estimation. Yeah. In the U.S., it made $100 million, which is less than Fast 7 made.
Far less, yeah.
Fast 7 opened with $147 million.
But Fast 7 should have an asterisk next to why it opened so big. There's a lot of Paul Walker nostalgia, but that was never going to match. This is still the second highest opening weekend for any of the franchise.
And it also made less, to be fair, than The Force Awakens made domestically.
Way
USA!
Exactly.
Oh, no, we're just saying to be fair. Because I love the fact that this early in the morning and Dan's already trolled and disappointed.
I mean, Sasha can have her opinions all she wants.
All my ads are going to be a mess today, and I'm okay with that.
I just got to say, I think it's ridiculous that some news sites are talking about the disappointing domestic box office. The movie made $500 million in 3 days.
Oh my God, yeah.
Can I have that? Crazy. Can I have a life that disappointing, please?
Yeah. And it's also, it's the #1 opening of all time for a black director. It's the #1 opening for Charlize Theron. It's the #2 for Vin and The Rock. But where did this money come from? Some people are saying that it's a really diverse cast, and that's why it makes a lot of money internationally. Where do you think the box office dollars rolled in from, Roth?
Look, I think it's the Fast and the Furious as a franchise, if I could speak, has done a number of things really well. It's been smart the whole time about a number of things. Maybe it didn't know what it was going to become, but this has been a very diverse cast from movie one, and that was super ahead of its time. But then it also kept increasingly getting more and more international as the box office it demanded that films become more and more international. It did that, and it's got a very international cast. It's an action movie that you don't necessarily need to intricately know the mythology of in order to follow along, you know?
Submarines translate in every language.
It's like submarine, Lambo, glacier. I get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, look at that.
The way people feel about the Fast and the Furious and the way that you experience watching the Fast and the Furious.
Oh my God, I'm so excited just even watching that.
But it's funny seeing these Fast and the Furious movies because we have a history going back to the 50s and the Roger Corman drive-in movies that were all about roller derby or smash 'em derbies and Eat My Dust, Ron Howard's first film. So it's interesting to see genres that were cheap, disposable genres 40 years ago. Superheroes, sci-fi, and car chase movies are now
the genre.
The movies that control the industry. It's insane.
Well, these are not about car chases anymore. Car chase, there's one in the movie, and then the rest is submarines.
It's crazy vehicle chases.
The Rock being a metahuman suddenly. For some reason, he's the Hulk. He's Samoan Hulk.
He's a large man.
It's about set pieces, though, and a lot of this money came from China, right? And this is very transferable. I watch MMA. I do not claim to be an expert, so don't yell at me because I'm not an expert. But it's very easy for me to watch because it's that guy's beating the crap out of that guy, and he's winning because that one's bloody on the floor and screaming, right?
Totally.
It's super easy.
And not just guys, also girls.
Well, also, too, they were very smart in... After Vin Diesel didn't come back for the second one still made a lot of money. And then after the death of Paul Walker, with the diversity of the cast, it's not like an Avengers movie where when Robert Downey Jr. is not Iron Man anymore, there's going to be a void. They've successfully doled out equal portions to the entire cast. So they could have this going on forever. And the plot twist that we're not going to spoil means that in 10 years, we'll have Fast and the Furious Generation 3.0.
Well, that is a big thing. Hold on. We're jumping ahead here. And I need to give Dan a moment because I can see that you've been chomping at the bit.
No, I want to add just some not caveats, but just some perspective to these numbers. Number one, this movie opened pretty much day and date across the world, including China. The Force Awakens did not open in China, so it's a little bit. It's not apples to apples as far as the opening weekends. I'm sure if you put together all the opening weekends, the Force Awakens would be bigger. Not to take away from what Fast and Furious did. $500 million is $500 million.
It's bigger, I swear.
Secondly, I think. I completely lost track of what I was going to say, but yeah, no, this got my mind rolling around in my head. But yeah, that's really what the main thing is, that this did open in more markets than the Force Awakens. Second, the margin here is razor thin. If they're off by as much as $8 million, this could be the number 4. Again, still $500 million. This could be the number 4 weekends. This is going to be one of the top 1 to 4 weekends, but. You can't take what this franchise has going for it is the fact that it does offer something for everybody. And I think even me, I get lost in how stupid I think these movies are, and I don't give it credit for how inclusive this is as a franchise. And I think it does deserve a lot of credit for that, for the cast that it's built, for the audience that it's built, for the number of people that can go to the movies and see people like them on screen, which you don't see in almost any other big time franchise that's out there. And that is a big part of why this franchise is so successful. And they are fun movies. They are stupid, dumb movies, and some people like them, and that's completely fine. And I can totally see why. I can maybe wish that it didn't make $500 million this weekend, but I can absolutely see why it did.
The other thing that it has going for it is that and by the way, in case anybody didn't understand my analogy, all I'm saying is, like, you don't have to be an expert to watch people fighting. You don't have to sort of understand a deep level of mythology to watch these movies in the way that you actually probably do in a different way for Star Wars. But you are also in a very clear, simple way connected to these characters. This is a franchise that has long-term relationships in it.
It's all about family.
I mean, but think about that. Think about how many action franchises in which the lead is in the same relationship over the course of several movies.
Think about that. That never occurred to me. He's not James Bond. Vin Diesel isn't banging all these hoes at the races. He's
he's hanging out with them. He's hanging out with them.
But he lets them sit on his car. He doesn't let them sit on his lap. Oh, God, this is just making me very excited. So
by the way, I love Star Wars. So
and I love Star Wars too.
And also too, movie statistics. We could all rearrange any statistic at any given time. It's the highest grossing Wednesday afternoon in Peoria, and put that as a headline. These statistics are all malleable, and inflation rates and everything.
Our headline.
They are malleable.
That would be a great headline.
I'm curious to see the hold on this. I really am, because this was very atypical, I think, for a Fast and the Furious movie, and I'm curious to see if the fans keep coming back, or if the word of mouth builds on this, because I think this is different though than Fury 7 was very uplifting, and
there
this
was
movie
emotion to that too.
There's a lot of emotion to it. It's very uplifting. I thought this movie was kind of a downer,
but there's no way that it's not going at least to 750.
No, definitely not. I'm just
it's going to pass $1 billion. It's guaranteed to go past $1 billion, unless it drops 90%. It's going to make $1 billion for sure.
Now that we have this baseline, though, given the tone of the movie, and just given the fact that it is the first one without Paul Walker, this is the beginning of a new phase. I'm curious to see how it holds.
I think it won't hold really well here. I think it'll just break 200 million.
Yeah.
But overseas, a lot of people saw that movie in the theater the first time because of the Paul Walker curiosity and are invested in it. And we're already seeing that in other markets. It was huge in China, and now I think, according to this morning, it's the 3rd highest opening weekend ever in China. It made $190 million. It could hit 500 or 600 million there easily if it holds, and it's the right time of year. So.
But then what happens? We know that now 8, 9, and 10 are supposed to be a trilogy.
Yeah.
How do you do 9? How do you do 10? And then do you let it die? Or are we going to get Fast 14? Mark's like, I got a pitch.
9 in China, a car chase on the Great Wall of China with Black Hawk helicopters. Done. You shoot it all in China.
Yeah.
You know,
get the tax breaks.
Get the tax breaks, and then you're guaranteed to make $1 billion there. Number 10. Have Vin Diesel go full Darth Vader.
And 10's
or sacrifice himself admirably.
Show up for the end. Yeah, exactly.
I want to kill Vin.
I'm okay with that, actually.
We've had enough loss in this franchise.
It's true.
Okay.
We have.
I feel like there was a rumor that there was going to be a Hobbs spinoff movie the other week, and I feel like that might be sort of the way that you start to do this.
That's
because The Rock,
He's got so much free time on his hands for another franchise.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like, look, this is an ensemble movie, and I feel like it functions that way. It's interesting to think about the idea of them going off separately. Jason Statham and The Rock were two standouts for
absolutely.
Sure.
Oh, yeah, that's my pitch pitch for 9. My pitch for 9 is get rid of everybody except for The Rock and Jason Statham.
And
just make those movies.
Helen Mirren. I want Helen Mirren to drive a muscle car and kick some serious ass.
Yes.
Give her a submarine.
She's not in 9 in a very substantial way, I am very upset.
The best thing about Helen Mirren is she asked to be written into the franchise.
Yeah,
so you always take that call.
That's one of the best things. She was the standout. She was another standout in the movie. She was so great in that. I don't think for 9 and 10 you do the spinoff. I think that you have to continue and have it be the ensemble, but that might be a thing that you could do afterwards to keep the franchise going, because the truth is, if it continues to make this kind of money, there's no way the studio is letting it die.
Can you imagine if we get like the young Han Solo, a young Vin Diesel?
Who plays him? There's nobody who could play him.
Vin Diesel would never let anyone except for Vin Diesel play Vin Diesel.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think
even the movie of his life will star him.
Yes.
So, number 8.
I love it, by the way.
Very much made 9. If you've seen it, you know exactly what they're going to do in 9. It's like a very easy trajectory. 10, I hope they bring it back to Los Angeles. That was one of the things I thought worked so well about 7, and one of the things I think works less well in 8 is that it goes too far away from its own home base.
Well, that's always smart. That's what you do. I mean, look at Logan. Logan was the least expensive of the Wolverine trilogy and the most emotionally. If you keep building to $250-300 million budgets, then for the final one, you do 50 million, and you do it no tech. You do it just cars and all practical stunts. That makes perfect sense.
Well, one of my frustrations with 8 was the fact that they didn't deal with a major plot point, and I think that will probably be the plot point that drives 9 and maybe wraps everything up in 10. I am a huge fan of this franchise. I do not want to see it go past 10. I don't. I think you have to stop.
This is what's going to happen after 10. They're going to do a couple one-offs with The Rock and whoever. Yep. And then one of the plot devices that we can't talk about is going to spawn the next generation.
No, stop it!
No, but Sasha, be real. I mean, if it's doing this kind of business until it's no longer doing that,
until the golden age stops.
Until it's not doing that kind of business, it stays.
So if 9 opens at 80.
Yeah.
And if 10 opens higher because it's the last one, 10 opens at 102.
Those numbers are irrelevant. How does it do in the rest of the world?
Yeah, domestic numbers are becoming. The United States domestic numbers are a piece of the puzzle. They're not the linchpin.
Not anymore. And if this movie holds this weekend, this movie has paid for itself already. It's already, not counting advertising, going to be in profit.
But we have to remember too that the amount of money that the studio gets from other territories is smaller. I think it's rough 25%. Sure. So that's significantly less money than it'll get from the domestic opening. So the domestic open, and not just the open, the domestic box office still counts, but it's the total picture that really is going to drive the decision, because the movies are also getting a lot more expensive to make.
I just did math. They're still getting 48 million out of China, even if they only get a quarter of the profits.
And this is also proven that Vin Diesel doesn't guarantee box office
quarter of
in
profits
the United
at
States.
the time.
But because what, XXX did like 40 million here and did like 300 million overseas.
XXX, a lot of people have written off XXX. We broke down the numbers for my show on Plus, Dan's Labyrinth. Check it out on Mondays.
You absolutely should.
But no, XXX
today, because we're going to be talking more
ironically,
about
I think Fate of the Furious might have dropped it up. But XXX is one of the top 5 movies worldwide this year.
It's like a $370 million.
Yeah. So for everyone says, "Oh, XXX," same with Warcraft. Same with like when people look at the U.S. system numbers and they say like, "Oh, it's a bomb."
Not everywhere.
We're getting a Pacific. By the way, for people that say like, "Oh, we only get bad movies," we're getting a Pacific Rim 2 because of worldwide box office numbers. So the international box office, it taketh and it giveth away, and taketh and giveth us bad things.
But also the international box office is also has more accepting to different films, because the Bridget Jones Baby, was that the last one? Made like 20 million here and made like 180 overseas.
Oh, that just makes me sad for feminism. All right, let's bring in Victor Torres. Speaking of,
we're gonna have to fight about Bridget Jones as a feminist icon. We are.
Bridget Jones Baby?
Not now.
Well, speaking of fighting as a feminist, the thing I was going to say before was Rose Namajunas had such a great fight this weekend. Shout out to her, and also shout out to Victor Torres. Victor Torres, let's bring you into this conversation. So we asked on social, should the Fast franchise stretch past 10?
Yes.
Please tell me that the people heard my cries and said no.
They have both heard your cries and have ignored your cries. It's not super split. Delisha Russell says nope.
Yeah, girl. That's
Cinema
right.
Chat says yes. The newest movie opened at 538 million worldwide, a record-breaking opening. Universal would be insane if they stopped this franchise. Good point. And then a nerding rhinoceros says, of course it should. It needs a Netflix series, Hot Wheels toys, and underwear line. Fast franchise to the max.
Yes.
And yes, Bridget Jones' Diary did make 179 million internationally. Oh my God. So I'm trying to track down basically like what markets The Force Awakens opened compared to The Fate of the Furious. And while I don't have an exact number, it definitely looks like The Fate of the Furious opened with a few more markets, as like they're like a huge, more than $300 million of what they've brought in has come from foreign markets just this weekend alone. Yeah, this is insane.
So, I mean, yeah, we want to make that point. It's a loose comparison. This in no way says that Star Wars is irrelevant, because first of all, it's not. It's an amazing franchise. But two, financially, it's huge.
They have nothing to do with each other. So.
They have nothing to do with it. But the other thing that Star Wars has that The Fate of the Furious, since you kind of brought this up, doesn't, is merchandising. Now, limited, and I'd be curious to find out what kind of merchandising you have for The Fate of the Furious or the Fast and the Furious franchise, because for Star Wars you can make
tube tops,
so much money just on the merchandising.
Booty shorts that say like Vin and rhinestones.
Those flags that you start a race with.
I'm surprised we don't know this.
Oh my God, this is very interesting, because I was thinking about the one thing that's really missing from the Fast and Furious franchise is a car that goes ba-doo, ba-doo, and there really isn't that much that gets sold with it outside of the movie ticket.
And you just brought up those flags that start off the race. Yeah. Are there any? There've got to be some high school cheerleading teams that do Fast and the Furious themed like cheer things. So take that. I want to see video.
But that's what I'm saying is like hot cars are hot cars, right?
Yeah.
If you're Lucasfilm, you have the merchandising rights to Star Wars, right? Like, let's take a different franchise. Marvel stands to make.
You saw the action figures.
$1 billion just off Spider-Man.
All you really get from the Fast and the Furious is like the Wiz Khalifa song.
I'd buy a Chia Vin.
Chia Vin that grows hair.
But like only around here.
No, like what his real hair is. You know, do you saw those breakdancing videos when he had the afro when he was a kid?
Great.
Wait,
you have not seen these?
Look them up. They're amazing.
We're going to have to wrap this up because I have to go to YouTube right now to go look at other things. But speaking of YouTube, let us know in the comments below whether you think that this can stretch past 10, and if so, what you'd like to see. Please comment below. You can tweet us at SJ News. Make sure to like and subscribe. Of course, you can always click here for more Screen Junkies news, and always live that life a quarter mile at a time. Screen Junkies family, y'all. Peace out.